Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to dive into this one with you.
Same here. Today, we're unpacking a topic that honestly sounds incredibly formal, but it's actually something every single one of you already gets on a fundamental level. The exact title of today's explainer is Public Expenditure.
Right, so think of it kind of like this. Every month, you and your family sit down, maybe at the kitchen table, and you look at your household budget. You've got your groceries, the electric bill, maybe you're saving up to fix a leaky roof, or putting away cash for the kids' education.
Exactly. And you have to balance all those outgoings with whatever money is actually coming in. Well, public expenditure is literally just that, but on a massive macroeconomic scale. It's the ultimate national household budget. Today, we're going to break down exactly how a government manages the wealth of an entire nation.
So here is our quick roadmap for today. First up, we'll define the national household budget.
Second, we're looking at daily bills versus future assets.
Number 3, growth versus protection.
And finally, number 4, why the bill is growing.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the national household budget, and define the basics. Let's strip away all that complex economic jargon for a second. When you hear economists on the news talking about trillions of dollars and fiscal policy, it can sound, well, incredibly abstract. But at its core, we are just talking about a very large entity paying its bills to keep the house running.
Spot on. So here's our core definition. Public expenditure is simply the total money spent by public authorities. And remember, that doesn't just mean the central or federal government up top. It's the whole shebang, state and local bodies too.
Right. Just like a family pays for the roof over their heads and food in the fridge, the government pays the bills to protect us, think military and police, and to satisfy collective social needs, things like public parks, paved roads, and public schools.
And it's wild to think about, but historically, this used to be pretty minimal. Governments basically followed a hands-off, laissez-faire policy, sticking strictly to the bare minimum functions like defense. But today, modern governments are all about driving economic and social welfare. They are super active participants in making our daily lives better.
Moving right along to Section 2, daily bills versus future assets. This is the big divide. So how does a government actually organize all this spending? I mean, if you have a giant checkbook, you need a very clear way to categorize where the money's going. If you mix up your weekly grocery money with your mortgage payments, you're going to have a really bad time.
Oh, absolutely. And it turns out there is a very formal 4-part classification for how governments organize this massive amount of wealth. As you can see, we break it down into revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, developmental expenditure, and non-developmental expenditure.
It's kind of beautiful how it organizes the chaos, isn't it? Instead of just looking at one terrifyingly massive number and panicking, policymakers can look at this and see exactly what kind of financial commitments they're making. Are we just keeping the lights on today, or are we actually building something for tomorrow? Which brings us to the first major divide, revenue expenditure versus capital expenditure. Now, think of revenue expenditure as the nation's daily maintenance bills. This is the cash spent on just running the administration day to day, paying the salaries of government employees, funding pensions, keeping the medical and public health services running. Right, it's incurred regularly, day in and day out. But here is the absolutely critical takeaway. Revenue expenditure does not create any permanent productive assets. Think about it. When you pay a salary, that money is gone. The service was rendered, sure, but you don't magically have a physical bridge to show for it at the end of the month. For that, you need the other bucket, capital expenditure. This is the country's long-term investment fund. This is where massive wealth goes to literally build the future. High-tech dams, modern bridges, bullet trains, major development projects. This is the spending that actively constructs the country's physical and economic foundation. It's literally the difference between paying your monthly electric bill versus paying to build a brand new addition to your house. Okay, let's pivot to Section 3, growth versus protection, where we look at categorizing the actual impact. So we just covered what we're buying, daily services versus physical assets. But economists also really care about the impact of that spending. Basically, does this dollar actively earn us more money and push society forward, or is it just acting as a shield to protect what we already have?
And that brings us to developmental versus non-developmental expenditure. Now, developmental spending is the really exciting stuff. It's highly productive. When the government pours money into health, education, industrial development, or research and development, it directly boosts production and creates jobs.
Yeah, it's a direct investment in human capital and the innovative brain power of the nation. But then, on the flip side, we have non-developmental expenditure. Now, quick caveat here, don't let the name fool you into thinking this is useless spending. Far from it. It is absolutely essential. We're talking about military defense, the standard court system, civil administration.
Exactly. It's highly protective. You literally cannot have a functioning society without law and order or secure borders.
But in a strictly economic sense, it doesn't yield a direct productive financial return. It protects our wealth, for sure, but it doesn't earn us new wealth.
All right, moving into our final part, Section 4. Why the bill is growing. The rising cost of living.
If you've glanced at any national budget recently, you'll immediately notice one universal truth. The total number is ballooning. I mean, the checkbook is just getting thicker and thicker every single year. We really need to talk about why this massive surge in spending is happening right now in the modern era.
It's true. Just like your own household grocery bill seems to magically go up every single time you visit the store, the government's overall expenses are experiencing tremendous, continuous growth. And it's not just that we're buying more groceries, we are essentially feeding a much bigger family with much more complicated needs.
Let's rattle off the real-world drivers behind this. First up, a massive population boom. In developing nations like India, for example, the population growth is just staggering. And more people automatically means you need more schools, more hospitals, more water supply.
Right. And they aren't just staying spread out in the countryside, they're moving to the cities. Growing urbanization means crowded cities that demand intense public infrastructure. We're talking smart transit systems, complex sanitation grids, and beefed-up civic security.
Then you've got external factors, increasing defense and security costs. Let's be real, even in peacetime, protecting borders in an era of unstable international relationships is incredibly expensive.
Combine all of that with the duties of a modern welfare state. Today, we expect our governments to actively eradicate poverty, spread education, and provide universal health care. Oh, and we definitely can't forget frequent disaster management.
Earthquakes, floods, cyclones, managing these calamities requires billions of dollars in emergency funds every year. But wait, out of all those drivers, there is one silent force that amplifies everything else we just talked about. The absolutely crucial point here is inflation.
Yeah, we normally only think about inflation hitting our own wallets, right? Like at the gas pump or the grocery store. But general price rises hit the government's massive projects just as hard, if not harder. Think about it. If the government planned to build a bridge 5 years ago, the cost of the steel, the concrete, and the labor has probably skyrocketed since then.
Wow, actually, when you put it like that, they aren't even building a second bridge with that extra money. They're literally just absorbing the rising costs of the first one. The budget basically has to expand just to eat those rising input prices.
Which leaves us with an incredible, really daunting challenge. We've looked at the daily bills, the future assets, the protective shields, and these rapidly growing costs.
So we want to leave you with a question to chew on today. Put yourself in the driver's seat. If you were sitting at that desk, managing this macro household budget, how would you strike the perfect balance? How do you make sure you are paying those daily maintenance bills, keeping the administration running and the borders secure, while still carving out enough capital to build the bullet trains, the dams, and the research labs of your country's future?
It is a delicate, super high-stakes balancing act, and it's exactly what policymakers wrestle with every single day. We really hope this explainer gave you a clear, structured look into how your tax dollars are managed. Definitely keep this framework in mind the next time you hear a news headline about the national budget. Catch you next time.